I we talked a little bit prior to recording just about faith, and I hope you feel a level of comfort. Obviously, the situation and the circumstances unimaginable, especially losing two people that you loved and cared for so very deeply. But hopefully, there's a level of comfort in knowing that they're together, and that one day you will certainly see them again. You mentioned that day in January of 2025. Would you be willing to share just a little bit of what happened and how ultimately you found out?
Yeah, she was her and this was a water polo group. So some of her friends were at University of Illinois in Urbana, Illinois. So her and a friend from up north, northern Illinois, went down to visit them and just get together. What 20-year-olds do, college students, right? They just get together, go visit with one another. They were just on the streets of Urbana, Illinois. J.B. Pritzker's Urbana, Illinois. He tells us how safe everything is. They were at a stoplight, idle, and they were smashed in the rear almost 80 miles an hour. Just, things showed that there was no swerving or braking or trying to avoid it. Just barreled into the back of that car, decimated it, ruined five lives in that car. Katie, unfortunately, first responders, when they got there, they kind of had to pry that car open. I believe she was already dead when they were pulling her out of the car. One of her friends that she went down with died the next day, and then there were three other injuries. So, you know, he was a illegal alien here illegally. He was a Guatemalan national, but he was using a Mexican national alias. Now, the federal enforcement knew this, but since the state of Illinois is sanctuary, they did no, and even if they did do a background check, they allowed him to roam around Illinois without any issues. So he fled, right? Riley, think about this. Here's the character that we're standing behind. He decimates five lives in a vehicle. His first instinct is to get out of town, right? So that was the 19th of January. The 20th, Donald Trump came in, shut down the border, let enforcement do their jobs. They did apprehend him right before he got to the Mexico border. So he is incarcerated. And by the way, now that he's incarcerated, he's being treated. And this is through, I was at the federal court when they were talking about this. It's in the transcripts. He's now being treated for HIV. So he had HIV in our communities. Was he as reckless with his HIV? And I'm not making a moral judgment here. What I'm saying is Illinois mismanaged this whole, and consistently, not just our story, everybody's mismanaged this system so severely it failed everybody, right? So they allowed this guy in. He wasn't who he said he was. We don't know how he was making his living. He had HIV in the communities. Illinois didn't try to help him or take care of him, didn't try to help him assimilate. He didn't speak English or Spanish. He spoke Kai Chi. He didn't read or write, never had a formal day of education. And Illinois just kind of left him on his own. Hopefully he'll spend decades in jail now. So good for Illinois for ruining kind of everybody in this situation. So, when he fled, we're thinking, what's happening? All we're doing is just kids are on the street. So detectives called me. And we talked to the detectives and they said Katie was killed. And you can't imagine. I wish I could explain it. I just think of being out in a dark wilderness, just wandering, trying to find our new path, our new purpose without Katie. You think you have someone the rest of your life, and the joy of our lives are watching the kids grow and be productive. And that's just been ripped away in such a violent, evil way. So we're still in that dark place, and we're trying, and we have faith, and we're trying to kind of get to a better place. It's just she was such a loving, joyous person. It's very difficult. But think about this and the lives that are impacted. So we couldn't even really process this. The first thing in our minds were like, oh no, we have to pull ourselves together. Katie and her sister were so close, so close. The minute they woke up to the time they went to bed, they were always together. So her sister's already texting us. Hey, what's going on? Katie's location's in a police station. What's happening? She's not responding. I'm getting really worried. Now, Katie's sister's in college, 5.5 hours away. So we have to pull ourselves together, get into a car in a snowstorm, and drive 5.5 hours to go talk to her sister to tell her about her, Katie's death. And what haunts me to this day, Riley, is the time we had to walk into her apartment and the reaction we got from her sister that will haunt me the rest of my life. Her reaction and her, that day we held her, we spoke with her, we tried to comfort her, and um, it will never leave me. It's with me every night. Katie's with me every night. When I wake up, Katie's with me. When I go to sleep, Katie's with me. So I think with the politicians and these I think uncaring or dismissive people say, well, crime, whatever crime happens here and there, or what, when it's so preventable, Riley, and it's so impactful that they dismiss us like that. It's so hurtful, and it just rubs salt in the wound. These are people that don't have skin in the game, whose North Star is their ideology. They don't get it. And to see Donald Trump to at least step up and say, hey, they're real, they matter, and their lives shouldn't have ended was something that we really do appreciate.
I try to put myself in your shoes, I guess, from two standpoints now. Number one, as a new mom, it's just unfathomable, truthfully, like it's unimaginable. And then also as a sister, having sisters myself, hearing that news and how it would just absolutely wreck and upend your life as you knew it. I can't even, there's really no words for that. And of course, you mentioned Governor Pritzker and this situation and others like yours being entirely mismanaged, which I think is to put it lightly. I understand you sent your governor, who has made Illinois a sanctuary state, a letter with some questions that you wanted answered. You did a fantastic job. I saw an op-ed actually in Fox Digital. Can you highlight some of the questions that you had? And I think more importantly, if you ever received a response from Governor Pritzker or his office.
So yes, we sent a letter, and it was not ideology. The ideology wasn't the main thrust of that letter. It was just factual questions that we were trying to ask the governor. Because remember, the governor, at one minute we're in Congress with the governor who completely avoided us, didn't talk to us, didn't spend 2 seconds, couldn't care less about victims like us. But he was in Congress telling the Republicans, immigration is the federal responsibility. The enforcement's a federal responsibility. It's not my responsibility. My responsibility is the state of Illinois. But then he turns around and then he nullifies federal law. He just said it's your responsibility. He nullifies it and clearly has put nothing in its place. This is a free for all in here in Illinois. He's got hundreds of thousands of people he doesn't even know that are roaming around our state. So some of the questions I really wanted to know were on both sides was what did you do for the people you've kicked the side door open in the middle of the night and you're letting hundreds of thousands of people in? What are you doing for these folks? So take our guy who killed Katie. Couldn't speak English, couldn't speak Spanish, didn't read or write, never had a day of education, had HIV. What did you do to help this guy? Did you have a system in place that helped him assimilate, understand the language, the culture, what's the right and wrong to do? Did you help him with his disease? Did you try to treat it? Did you try to understand that he was a sick person? There was like nothing. So those were some of the questions. The other questions were simple, like, hey, how did this guy, by the way, in the police report had a driver's license number? So explain to me, just want to understand, a guy who's never doesn't speak the language, doesn't know the culture, and never had a day of education. How did he pass that driver's test? I took the driver's test. I actually studied for it, right? So then, and then if he's on the road doing a driver's test, how is he understanding the signage and how is he understanding what to do? So just simple questions like this. So what I got from the governor's office was really nothing, right? Just absolutely zero. These are arrogant, aloof people. They're not accountable to the voters. Somehow, Riley, there must be something happening. I don't know. Maybe there's ballots tied to these illegals that they don't necessarily need the voters. They know certain voters are always going to be behind them due to ideology, and they just need some ballots here and there, and they don't really care about the people. But let me get into something here, Riley, that I rarely talk about just because I don't. Katie's biological mom was sort of against the operation of Midway Blitz that was named for Katie, which was a targeted operation to remove criminal illegal aliens out of Chicago. So Katie's mom didn't necessarily agree with Katie's name being tied to that, and I did. So I allowed them to use her name. Um, so Katie's mom did write an op-ed that said, "I'm not real thrilled with this," that type of thing. So the governor's office, the only response they gave was, "You don't have the full story, Fox Digital," because they reached out to them for a comment. The mom, here's an op-ed the mom wrote. Now, the mom didn't write about immigration in general and the lack of uh, responsible policies, nothing like that. It was just this targeted operation. So that's what they sent to the reporter. Now, think about this, Riley. You have a governor whose supposed responsibilities as citizens. He is hiding behind a grieving mom who disagreed with one operation. That's why he won't talk to me. I can't get this figured out. So he's not reached out to me father to father like Donald Trump has. President Trump looked me in the eye, father to father, talked to me about it. So this is our, strong, tough governor, and he's going to hide behind a grieving mom. It's amazing to me how he sort of gets away with some of the things and is unresponsive to his own citizens. I am still a citizen. I have simple questions, and you need to respond to those. But as of today, I've got nothing back.
It's a good point you make. And it was something I thought of in watching the State of the Union, where you had, I think, the most telling moment of any State of the Union in history when President Trump asked directly, "If you agree with this statement, stand. The American government's first priority is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens," and not a single, well, maybe Fetterman stood, but virtually the entirety of the Democratic Party sat down. And it was something I thought, how could they do this? But the thought crossed my mind, maybe they don't want to disparage their voting base. And who is their voting base, especially in states like California? We actually just had Nick Shirley on the last episode and talking about California voter fraud that's happening there. So maybe they don't want to disparage their voting base. I mean, is there really any other reason? Do you think these people like Pritzker, really believe this? Because they love words like compassion and empathy, but what happened to you and your family and other families like yours? It's not compassionate at all.
No, you're right on target there. It's a one-sided compassion, I'd say. To your point, they care about their new voting bloc, I guess, and the citizens are sort of left to, they're just being taken advantage of. So yeah, he's not a caring man. He's not a compassionate man. The Illinois legislature think they're doing all the right things, but really, if you think about the way the whole system fails, you nullify federal law and you add no guardrails. You just fail everyone. You fail the victims and you continue to re-victimize them. And then you also fail the ones coming in. You don't, there's no shame in vetting because your responsibility is the citizens of your state first. And you don't give special privileges or sacrifice one group of people for another, right? You don't give special privileges here because you think it's going to benefit you because you're politically self-interested, while you sacrifice another group, because not everyone dies, Riley. Not every victim's a death like Katie. Katie certainly got the death sentence with these policies, but there are so many victims and then the families of these victims, and there are just so many that are out there, and they are so cavalier in their response, like they want to erase us. It's so inconvenient for them. They want us to go away. They want to make us invisible. And that must be the reason why, Riley, that he has not responded to me as father to father, citizen to governor, because this would upset his voting base, I think. There's no real rational understanding why a governor of a state wouldn't speak to a citizen of his state, a lifelong Illinoisan. And I know how corrupt this state is, but they always had some kind of guardrails to it. But right now, there's just nothing. And then the governor just dismisses you. It's so, the disrespect he showed Katie is so disgusting to me. And to your point, at the State of the Union, you can't stand up for some of these simple ideals. It's so odd to me. I don't really understand exactly what's going on, but we've got some evil folks running things.